good. Thanks for coming.
You're welcome.
So for those of you who haven't watched before, the purpose of these videos are to get you to meet people like Ben who've been through what I call big stuff and then share lessons learned. So the theme of the program and the channel is resiliency, dealing with adversity and setbacks. And something key for all of us is what's easy for you might be difficult for me. And what might be easy for me might be difficult for you.
A little tough.
So, you know, no judgment on resiliency, but it's about there's skills, there's process, and always ask for help. That's a big piece of being resilient, is having an inner resiliency and a team on the outside to help pull you along, or sometimes you push one of them. So welcome and thanks for taking the time.
Thanks for having me here.
Oh, it's great to have you here. I, in the spirit of full disclosure, have known him for more than a little while because he grew up in my mother's neighborhood.
Yep, just around the corner.
Just around the corner, in my old turf, back where I was a sprout before he was a sprout.
Yeah, yeah.
And for those of you who don't know English, sprout's a term for little kid.
Yeah, tiny one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's been quite a while. So when Michael told me that he wanted me to have me come over, I thought, why not?
Well, it's an honor to have you here. And so for the sake of our viewers, could you share about your big stuff?
Yeah, for sure. So I guess everything in life can be perceived as big depending on what it is, right?
Exactly.
I think probably the biggest moment, and probably the moment that you were thinking about when you thought resiliency was, began when I was about 7, but it really happened when I was 8, when I was diagnosed with a brain tumor. So that's now been, 16 years?
Wow.
So yeah, coming on to 17.
Wow.
But at that point in my life, young kid, everything kind of changed for my parents, for my sister, for everyone around us. No one in our family had previously had a medical condition like that. And so we didn't really know what was going to happen. The doctors originally, my parents pushed to see some type of physician. We went into the doctors. There's an issue, one morning I fell into the ditch. I was walking in a straight line, and then I had, because of the weight of the tumor was on my left side. You might actually be able to see the scar, but it was on my left side. And the weight of the tumor actually pushed my head down, and because of gravity took its effect, pushed me to the left side. I didn't notice. I thought I was walking in a straight line, and then I walked into the ditch.
Right.
And that was kind of the trigger point for my mom. Made her realize that there was something wrong. So she, like I said, pushed until the doctors finally gave in, gave me a CAT scan, I believe, and then realized that there was this issue. But my family was shocked. They didn't know what was going to happen, and then you kind of go through that big experience, right? And then there's a ton of big stuff to follow, so I don't want to ramble on. I'll let you ask questions.
Sure. So one of the things he just shared as part of a resilient family is we advocate, we look out for each other.
Yeah.
So with all respect to doctors who have to see too many people with not enough time, they were probably thinking, well, the mom's new at this, it's her firstborn.
Yeah.
Trying to be fair to the doctors, but your mother, being wise, kept saying, no, something's off. He's a good kid, he's a smart kid, but there's something off. And you falling in the ditch proved to her conclusively that there's something off. And so advocating for each other respectfully is a key to staying resilient as a group.
Exactly, and in no way, shape, or form is the doctor's intentions weren't to not assist. It's just, a lot of times parents can be relatively cautious with their first child, and even with second, third, last child, because that's their own, right? And it makes total sense. But it was one of those things where in my family there was also migraines. I used to have migraines. So all these symptoms that my mom was seeing were chalked off by other people as, that's just something that goes on until we actually figured it out. And so, it was really important to have that supportive family. First, to catch the tumor when it came, and then second, to be able to help me go through that period. Where, as an 8-year-old kid, I didn't really know what was going on, and nor could I navigate that system. If I was a bit older, maybe the support wouldn't have been a necessary thing. It would have still been a nice thing. But walking through that road, going to, I was at Sick Kids, So going
That's
there,
a hospital for kids, if you didn't get the sick kids piece.
yeah, hospital for sick kids in Canada. So it's a fantastic resource. I would say one of the best children's hospitals in the world.
Yes.
So I felt really fortunate for that. And so I got in there, my parents were there, they helped me out. And that period of time, I had fantastic pediatric care from doctors, from nurses, from the clown that would come in and spend time with me. I think that's one big thing about resiliency, is not only having physical care, but also having mental care, right?
You have to have a chance to blow off steam, regardless of age. So whether it's a clown, or some hospitals let in dogs and cats, and today on the television there's a hospital in the States that lets in miniature ponies.
Yeah.
Now it's all hygienic. The pony's been washed and cleaned. And ponies wear boots, little boots, to make sure they don't track anything from the barn into the hospital. And the boots are cleaned every trip.
There we go.
But the look on the patient's faces when they see a miniature pony show up.
Yeah.
So resiliency, it's about laughter too. It's about expressing our emotions.
Exactly.
And respectfully letting it out.
And being able to connect with that person, even though this was a silent clown. But even though you're not able to communicating in different ways than maybe you're used to, or playing pool, going to play computer games, going to do cooking stuff. There was all those resources there and available. So I think that was a really important thing for my stay. Not only was the medical care fantastic, but also the care, the positive energy I saw around me from the people around me, the sense of community too, the people that we met there, who were also going through similar neurological difficulties. That was definitely something that was important. So yeah, going through that period, I want to say I was in hospital for 2 weeks after the surgery. And my surgery lasted about 7 hours, I believe. So pretty big operation. And so I remember going out, and this is really where I think children are resilient in their own way, and I think that being able to keep that resiliency as you grow up is really important. And I think one of the big ways is definitely having these different social, emotional learning pieces that we do, having different therapies, whatever it might be, the things that prove to be more important. I think that was important, and in particular, as an 8-year-old, all I really cared about was being able to play the N64 they had at the hospital. Before
That's a computer game.
Yeah, so being able to play that video game system, because I didn't have that. And really what it came down to was, once I got to play that, I went in, my parents were extremely positive with me. They never showed me they showed me concern, but they didn't show that they were worried, because they didn't want me to be worried. So I went in on a little red Fisher Price, or little red cart, and the surgeons brought me in, and I was waving to my parents bye, and for them, that was a period of time where they never knew if they'd see me again.
Yep. Can relate.
And for me, it was just an experience where I was happy. I got to play my video game, and I think that's something that's important, being able to, whether it's naivety and the fact that I didn't know what was going on at that moment. I think you can also still have that resiliency when you do know, and being able to focus on the things that really are important.
Because that's an age appropriate though. Your parents, it sounds like to me, they talk to you age appropriately for 8, that you've got stuff going on.
Yep.
But these experts over here are going to help you deal with that stuff going on.
Exactly.
And they didn't show you overdue concern.
Because there was no point to get me too worried about stuff, right?
Because that's not going to change the outcome, and that's going to possibly reflect on your quality of experience. So be honest, but don't overshare.
Don't overshare.
According to the age.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. This is something that could have been because of the fantastic care that I received. It could have been because whatever we want to call luck. I don't know what luck really means, but it could have been just everything that came into it. But I didn't need any extra oxygen. I didn't need any extra blood. I didn't need any support while I was going through that 7-hour surgery. And I think that's a testament to to that positive energy, I didn't have any stress. I didn't have any worry. I was an 8-year-old kid that was happy that he just got to play a game, right? So, but I do realize that I'm talking to someone who went through and my apologies for not thinking about that before. I had, but just when the camera came on, I clicked off.
It's okay.
It clicked on and I clicked off, but that must be something that's pretty. It must take you back to memory lane a bit.
It does. It does. So preparing for a big event at different ages is different. So how a 4-year-old is prepared, because it takes an adult to help a 4-year-old.
She was 4, right?
Well, my one daughter, for some of you don't know, my daughter had a brain tumor at 7. So there's a lot of relevance in this interview.
And hopefully I'm not oversharing for you. But
No, not at all, not at all. And so it was about turning into a ritual and ceremony. We get her haircut because she was becoming not just a princess for Daddy and Mommy. She was becoming a princess warrior because she was going to do battle.
Yeah.
And in a playful way. And her 2 neurosurgeons,
Yeah.
of course, in my family, we tease politely about genders.
Yeah.
I said, if it was a boy like Daddy, would he only need one because he's a boy? His brain's not as big as a girl's. So we turned it into serious. You got big stuff, but the doctor's really smart, and he's one of the best in the world. But then we turned it into some silly.
Yeah.
And the hair salon knew she was coming, so she got put on the elevated chair, and they gave her a special undercut, so where the surgeon had said where to cut it short. And of course later they had to shave it, but for her it was cut short.
Yeah.
They gave her an oversweep, and she was made very fashionable. It was a pixie cut.
She felt really good about it.
It felt good, and then, staff came and clapped because she was going off to fight the fight. Ooh. And, girls rule, tumors drool. And, you got to have a catchphrase.
Yeah.
That's me speaking, not her. And so, like you, we tried to age appropriately share that this was important, but that doctor's gone to school for a long time.
Yeah.
Daddy went for 13 years plus more, and Mommy went to school for 12 years plus a whole lot more, and he's gone for 13 years plus 11 years.
Yeah.
He's really practiced to do this.
Yeah. He has.
And she was like, oh, okay. Sort of like
she's got a big smile on her face.
big smile on her face, and the
Ready to
hospital
fight the fight.
said that she was the calmest kid they'd ever met, this ill. And then she fell asleep having one of her medical tests, which really confounded the experts.
Yeah.
But that's the resiliency training that Mommy and Daddy gave her for calmness.
And that's usually like one of the most stressful periods, right? Because I even remember going into, so when I think it was my original CAT scan where they looked to see if there was any issue with me neurologically. I remember going into that and being really concerned because you're going into this portion of a tube, and you don't know what's going on, right? So I started freaking out as a young kid, and that's something that's understandable. Whereas you're saying that there's a medical procedure, and whether it's in a tube or there's a needle or anything, it would still be pretty scary. And to have her fall asleep, I mean, you gotta have a lot of calm.
We gave her permission to fall asleep, or if you could see it on the camera, I have a red dot. And I said to her more than once, with a little too much force, and if you forget, you forgot.
Yeah.
I said, so if you forget, it's called being a human being.
Yeah.
People of all types of smartness and not so smartness, people of all sorts of happiness and not happiness, forget. You're human. But if you remember, and they say, are you okay? Say, can I fall asleep? If they say yes, use your imagination to practice all the skills we taught you. Fall asleep.
That's fantastic.
She fell asleep.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, nobody's fallen asleep having an MRI before, or and the other tests we've done, and so it was beyond their comprehension.
Wow.
So that's why resiliency matters to me, especially for kids and the elderly, because it's about choices.
Yeah.
And so, what are the words you would describe that process as, that your parents helped give you? And your sister.
Yeah, and I was just thinking about my sister, who has always been 3 years younger than me at the time, would have been 5. Yeah, I mean, I think one of the most important words that I'd use is connecting. I think that through that experience, as well as a building block, this was really an opportunity, and I think a lot of people go through these big things, this big stuff in their life. And a lot of times these big things, this big stuff, actually affects more than one person, even if it, for me it only affected me internally, but it was affecting my whole family. And it really brought our family closer together. And I think these events can bring your family really close together. They can tear your family apart. I'm not just talking a neurological deficit. I'm talking about other stuff as well, whether it's social issue
Right.
or they really can change the structure of your family. And I think for me and for my family, it brought us really close together. You know, my dad was with my sister back at home, taking care of her. My mom was with me at the hospital for sick children. And I'm sure this sounds
very familiar.
sounds
Yeah.
familiar, right? Because you only had a certain amount of space for one person. My mom was sleeping on the couch. I was in my nice bed in the hospital. But you know, everyone was there for each other, and I had my family coming in, my extended family. I had people who I hadn't seen for a long time. People congregate, right? They all came together, and I think that connectedness and support. I think those are two big words that maybe can be compartmentalized into love, right? I mean, there was a lot of love going on. A lot of people were there to care and show their support, and I think that really matters. The positive energy was just fantastic.
I'm hearing Ben say that the family was supportive. He felt connected. Two key pieces of being resilient are having people you feel connected with and safe. And also, you didn't use these words, but I suspect your family took what could be seen by some as traumatic, and it is, not to make light of it, but they turned it, and some experts would call this framing and reframing, they turned it into an adventure for you.
Yeah. And it was that positive reframing that really, the psychological terms there.
And so, seeing it from another point of view. So nobody's wrong, whatever your point of view is, but for maximum quality of experience and for possibly less pain from a patient's point of view, having it framed as an adventure, even though they didn't call it that, but getting to play a computer game you didn't get to play at home, having all these things you could do at the hospital, all big stuff.
New experience.
New experiences. It gave you a chance to just be relaxed and go through the process, being loved, supported, and connected.
Yeah.
And I can't stress how much people need to stay connected. And it's not about money. It's about time spent, showing up.
Yeah.
I had somebody show up and say, I don't visit in hospitals very well. In fact, I always feel ill. So I have to go. It wasn't a 1-minute visit, but my neighbor who doesn't do hospitals showed up, didn't even get in the room, saw me, and from a distance he literally changed colors and had to leave, and then he was ill. God bless him.
But it meant a lot.
But he showed up for me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's huge, because that was way out of his comfort zone. Because poor guy, I don't do hospitals, I gotta go.
Yeah.
He was just overwrought, and years later he shared that something horrific happened, and he was in the hospital when it happened. So
the fact that he even came for you would have meant a million.
that was a big deal to him. To me, go to the hospital, not fun, sure, okay.
No.
It's just like going to a picnic on a hot day.
Yeah.
It's slightly too hot, but sure, we can do this.
It's just another day.
Another day. I spent too much time. So, you went through it all, and now it's more than a decade, getting close to 2 decades in a couple of years, 3 years?
Yeah, I mean, well, it'll be there in less than 10 years, so.
Yeah, so, and now look at you.
Yeah.
This is great. Post-secondary degree,
Yep. So I was at McMaster University.
working on what now?
So I was working on psychology, neuroscience, and behavior. So
Okay.
my experience with having a brain tumor led to a passion and interest for not only understanding myself, I think that's one of the major factors that came into play, but also understanding others and getting to know the brain a bit better and getting to know why we do the things we do and why we feel the way we do. So it probably sounds familiar as well.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
It does. So, good for you. But pursuing a passion, one of the things about being resilient is also a sense of purpose and passion. I call it passion and purpose when I work with youth at risk. What's your passion? What's your purpose? And often youth at risk go, I don't know, because they haven't had, they're youth at risk because they haven't had the luxury that a lot of us have, is having one or more loving parents or even one loving relative.
Yeah.
So,
Some support.
but yeah, so you had a sense of connection. I was blessed with a sense of connection, and it makes a difference.
Yeah.
And, you know, even remembering back thinking that I got to play a computer game I didn't have at home. It was good. That tells me that you were allowed to be yourself.
Yeah.
And there was no helicopter mother. She was there as a gentle guide.
And I think that's, definitely important, being able to have that time to experience things in your own way, as a child, or even as a young adult, being able to explore things, being able to see things as they are in your own perspective, right? And then if you have that time, if you're not in a survival mode all the time, worrying about threats, worrying about, I mean, we're fortunate enough, privileged enough, and I guess I can only speak for myself, but to be able to be in a situation where, the next meal on the table and the next spot that I'm going to sleep, it's all pretty solidly outlined. So I can spend that time. I could spend that time when I was younger figuring out, what do I really like? What really gets me going? And for me, it was my big stuff that resulted in my experience, right?
Yes.
So, what I was interested
So, very good. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, Ben's contact information will be below this video on the YouTube channel if you want to follow him on Twitter. So, till next time, imagine yourself being more resilient every day. Thanks, Ben.
Thank you.